reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
Halloween comes just once a year. It's an evening of fun, and there's nothing to fear. Children dress up in spooky disguises and trick-or-treat for Halloween prizes. But there are whispers of warning in the crisp autumn air. The Mad King will return, so you'd better beware. Don't listen to fools and the stories they tell. Mad King Thorn isn't real, you know very well. So come, walk a while in the pale moonlight. Discover what waits in the dark of night. All that is missing from our party is you. Celebrate Halloween in Guild Wars 2.
Happiness mode engaged.
Hello.
Welcome.
Ready for action.
Happy to meet you, hero.
Glad to have you with us.
You'll find everything you need here.
Hail, traveler.
Wake up, you motherless Edens. It's time to go.
I'd offer the traditional pirate's greeting, but your spleen is better unperforated.
You're listening to Guild Wars Reporter on the MMO Reporter Network, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMOReporter and by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon at doghousesystems.com. Hello and welcome to another episode of Guild Wars Reporter. This is episode 169. I am the Celeste that can barely talk, and joining me today is the amazingly enthusiastic Alona.
Hello, sultry Celeste. Or you will be by the end.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. I can already feel my throat closing on itself by me trying to sound enthusiastic.
Emma saying sickly Celeste.
Unfortunately. Yeah, so what did you do this weekend? I know there was something happened. I don't know. Something happened. And...
What was it?
Oh, it was the game. The game
yes.
launch. That's what it was.
The expansion.
Yeah.
So I took Friday off so that I could play at 3 when things launch, and around 1:30 I decided I needed to take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
But I would totally get up before 3 o'clock and patch the game and be able to play. And 10 in the morning later, I finally got up and played. So, there was that. I know I said I was mostly going to do Halloween stuff because it's temporary content, but that pretty much didn't happen hardly at all. I labyrinthed only once, and I was convinced to turn on my commander tag because the instance we were in, there wasn't one.
Mm-hmm.
And I sucked and got everyone killed at the Lich. So that's never happening again. Nope. I was terrible. I'm so sorry. I think I even said in the map, I'm taking my tag down because I clearly don't know what I'm doing. Thankfully, no one yelled at me. So there was that.
That's always an upside.
Yeah. I made pretty good progress on the clock tower jumping puzzle. I don't even remember hardly getting to the first tiny set of stairs previous years before the poison goo got me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's good.
Haven't completed it, but I did get to a point where I'm like, I don't know where to go from here, and you're apparently supposed to jump down further to a different platform. But I panicked and didn't get too far, and that was the furthest I'd got. Hopefully I can figure out that part. I hope to finish it this year, but not yet.
Mm.
I participated in Maven's Guild expedition for Lost Precipice.
Fun.
Yeah. So I've done that one. And Mock did a fractal on Friday night. Just the one, because we could do one. We'll talk about it a little bit further down when we go over these things in more detail. Mock actually made a couple PvP teams for the guild mission, PvP guild missions. You have to actually have a team created for that. And that's actually how Mock was able to unlock the guild expedition.
Okay.
It worked out really well. And nothing specifically, but I had a great, crazy good time on Sunday running around with all the mockeries, rampaging across Verdant Brink. And I wish I had recorded it because it was so much fun doing stuff. And then guild missions with Maven on Monday. They were fairly chaotic this week because the new system was throwing everyone off, like trying to figure out how to do Trek. It's slightly different than it used to be, or maybe it isn't and they just hadn't done Trek an awful lot. I'm not sure. So it was a little bit chaotic. Then Mock, last night, completed the guild expedition and now has the Gilded Hollow Guild Hall.
Yay.
Yay. And I think we did it with 14 people because it was like 2 parties of 5 and 1 party of 4. And it was challenging, but not nut-punchingly hard.
Yeah, it was challenging. I would say that.
Yeah. It was a little touch and go whether we were going to succeed, actually. So that made it fun. And like, hooray! What was it, the one creature we took it down, like with a second to spare?
Yeah, that was tight.
That was so fun. It was like, hooray! That was awesome! Not spoilery, I got up to chapter 6 in the new story, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Up to chapter 6.
Stuff.
And this is kind of for both of us. We found out there's an enemy in Orc Basin named Salona. Blade Master Salona. So that was exciting. And if you had your voice, you'd be very squeaky.
Yeah, I am super excited about it. I'm just... Voice. It appears that we are immortal or invincible because nobody's figured out how to kill us yet. So there's that.
Yeah, I found her just before the show, and you can run right up to her at her feet, essentially, and all she does is yell at you. And she's red, but there's no attacking, so who knows what's going to happen there? Who knows? And she has 3 pets.
I think the only reason that we're an enemy is because we kept sneaking in Praise Morty.
Praise Morty.
Praise Morty.
Mordor must take you all. I mean,
Exactly.
hey.
Hey.
So what did you do, Celeste, aside from get sick?
I was not expecting to be awake during the launch at 3 a.m. Or 2 for me. But I was, so I got everything patched up and ready to go. But I told myself I was not going to log in because I was too freaking tired. So I didn't. And then I slept all the hours. And I logged in, I think, about the same time you did, actually. Which was good because I wanted to explore it freshly and not be just like, eye-twitchingly tired.
Yeah.
It's really good. I really liked all of the live streaming leading up to the event. I watched a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, less than half, I would say, I watched, but I did watch some.
I did a lot of exploring because I went for updrafts before mushrooms. So I spent a lot of time like wandering around the canopy and dying. Like a lot of time. I really wasn't like terribly focused on the storyline. I just wanted to go out and explore. And I did a lot of that, and after I started getting into Arc Basin, I was like, yeah, I need to go and do some story. So I'm not quite on, I think I'm on like chapter 2 or 3. Like I haven't gotten far because I've been taking my time with it. And I actually started my Sylvari on it as well. And I think I kind of want to put my Ranger to the side and do it on my Sylvari just because it's so much more interesting.
I'm doing it on Alona. Being that that's my main, but I think I will do it on a Sylvari the second time around so that I can compare the two.
I would like to do that, but I think I actually want to do like one right after the other now. It's really different to see some of the dialogue. Like some of the NPCs flat out like hate your guts. as a Sylvari. And
Well,
you're just kind of like, whoa, gay.
I was kind of wondering, so, like, because there is some dialogue that I'm like, this would be so different if I had been a Sylvari. So I'm really curious to see how that plays out.
Like, you go and talk to a certain NPC, and you're the pact commander. And you go up to them and you're like, what's going on? What do you have to report? And they're like, commander. Like, you even deserve that title now.
Wow.
And then you're like full on commander mode, like, what you talking about? You don't talk to me like that. It's just like, yes, that's good. I did a fractal with y'all on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about it, but I'm not terribly pleased. I like that it's just one island now, though. That makes it a lot easier on filthy casuals like me.
Us?
Yeah. I had said that I was going to do Halloween because temporary content trumps permanent. I've done almost nothing with Halloween. I logged into the labyrinth for about 10 minutes, carved some pumpkins for a daily, and I was like, nope.
I want to go to the Verdant Brink.
Exactly.
I want to glide.
But I am going to buy the mini pet with the moa with the pumpkin head just because I really, really want it.
Yeah.
I attempted the clock tower for maybe 10 minutes. But the thing about the clock tower is that I did it the first year. Don't ask me how. I don't know how I did it.
I don't know how you did it either.
And I've never been able to do it since. So I just kind of like, well, I've done it once. Not doing it again.
The first night that I was doing it, I think I was up till it was after 2, possibly even 3, and I was super, super tired. And I was actually better than I was the next day, fully rested.
It's a certain amount of zen-like.
Yeah, I'm like, jumpity, jumpity, jumpity. Still a lot of swearing, though.
Oh, of course. That's every jumping puzzle.
Well, I think there was more in this one than there has been in others. But
and the guild expedition for Gilded Hollow, which I enjoyed. It was challenging with how far apart the events were. For the number of people we had, it was challenging. So we broke up into 2 groups. Yeah. And to have 7 people in each group, it made it challenging. There's no way that you would have been able to do it if you just stayed as one group.
Both Maven and Mock did the split into 2, so I've never... But some of them were at least somewhat close enough that if one team needed help, you could kind of jet over and help. I mean, we failed.
For some, yeah.
We failed 3 times?
I think so.
Yeah, so what happens is there's 2 sets of things you need to take out. It's timed, and you have to take them both down within that amount of time. They can be fairly far apart. And so there's 5 waves, and the wave number only progresses if you manage to defeat both of them. So we were at 4 of 5 for a couple times. And every time you fail one of those, the air becomes toxic.
Yeah.
It wasn't crippling, though.
No, but the toxic meter was like almost full by the time we finished.
Well, yes, we did it under the wire there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually hashtag was calling targets and seeing between groups, and that was squads, definitely, like you were saying, Celeste, in chat, squads would have helped. So
definitely.
It'll be easier once that comes in.
Yep.
Like I was saying, we had 3 groups. So we had 2 parties, and then the third team had to split in half, basically, 2 and 2, so that we could have even number groups between them.
Yeah, and it was small enough that it would have worked for a squad, but it just didn't pan out to where the UI's in yet. So let's go ahead and talk about when we live stream. We live stream on Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m. EDT, 6:30 p.m. PDT at twitch.tv/MMOreporter. You can subscribe to the audio version of the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. Remember to rate and review us so that other people know that we're a real podcast and sometimes we have normal, non-sickly voices.
I was wondering if you were going to say that.
So this week we got a wonderful review from Zabrachiosaurus, and the hero of Shaymore volunteered to do a reading because he enjoyed it so much as well. So we wanted to share it with you guys just because it's so awesome and we really liked it.
Astounding. These ladies, and sometimes gentlemen, really show the wonderful nature of the Guild Wars 2 community. They are fun, witty, and charming, much like myself, and can really get down to Guild Wars business. I look forward to hearing from them every week. Thank you for all you do. You, and I, are truly astounding.
It was a real treat for us to get that, and especially to have the hero of Shaymore
Choose to read it.
choose to read it specifically. So,
Deign to read our 5-star review.
yes. So thank you so much.
Think we're ready for another attack?
From land, air, or sea, we won't be caught off guard again.
Report from Lion's Arch.
Long live Lion's Arch.
In case you're just tuning in right now, Heart of Thorns is here now. It was January. We first heard about it. It's now live. It's been live for several days. It's all awesome. Yay! Glory and rainbows and unicorns. It's
and
all
Kermit
awesome.
flailing.
And Kermit flailing. We're only going to touch on some of the more important changes. Otherwise, of course, we'd be here all night, which we might still end up being here all night. Also, just to reiterate, we're not going to be talking about any of the story points because it's still too soon. I have heard and seen on Twitter that people have finished it. They've been, as far as I've seen, really good at not letting things slip, and we're certainly going to continue that. Defiance bars. The Defiance bar has changed. So the Defiance effect has been replaced with the Defiance bar or Break bar. I actually hear more people saying Break bar than Defiance bar. Creatures that previously used the Defiance effect will now have the Defiance bar. Control type attacks will decrease the Defiance bar and stun the enemy once the bar is depleted. So we're going to be talking about this a little bit further down in Ask Nazura since we've got a question specifically about the Defiance bar. But I just wanted to say that I cannot believe how much this bar has made a difference to how I'm able to contribute to reducing that mechanic.
Oh god, yes, it's so much clearer. It's so much better.
Before, it was just like a little icon essentially and with numbers, and this one with the bar where if I use on my Mesmer Greatsword 5, I see it go down. If I have a bunch of clones out and I use F3, I can't remember the name of it, which does interrupt, it goes down a metric crap ton. So it just made a huge difference to understand what the mechanics I needed to do to help further that. So hooray, it's wonderful. Moving on, we have the Revenant profession, and it was super funny I made a Revenant. So anyone I know that made a new character that was a Revenant, oh look, I'm surrounded by Revenants. In character creation, it was like, take me down to Revenant City. What's happening here? They're all Revenants. So I made a Norn.
Like you should.
What did you make?
I haven't made one.
What?
I haven't made a Revenant.
What?
I haven't made one. I haven't decided what to make it as. That's all.
The chief reason I made a Norn, and I made a male Norn, except the least beefy body, and he's actually fairly pretty. Although M says that he looks like Josh Hartnett, who I don't particularly care for. So now I'm like, Mah.
Well, my Revenant's gonna need to be my bitter malt replacement. So I've got to think long and hard.
Well, and that's Norn.
Yeah.
The reason I went Norn, though, is because I have all the cultural armors unlocked for heavy, because my warrior's a Norn. So it was like, well, this way I get tier 3 cultural armor, and I haven't been... And it will look different on a male than it does on a female, and I didn't have to pay for anything. So that's my very, very inane reason for making a Norn.
It's frugal.
Yes, that is... I will take that. There are the elite specializations now live. And at launch, they were 400 to unlock fully, except there was a post by Colin Johansson on the official website. And he talked about a few different changes that they're making. But the chief one is that they've lowered that number to 250 because there was a fair amount of people who complained that 400 was far too high.
Mm-hmm.
And so what Colin said is, we'd also always said you'd need to unlock your elite specialization, but we were never explicit on the details of how characters do this and the hero point costs associated. We always viewed the elite specialization as one of the major rewards in expansion, but between the betas and lack of unlock info, we didn't do a great job of properly aligning expectations on how your elite specialization is earned. This left some players in a position where they expected to have their elite specialization very early on or immediately in Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns.
Yeah. I'll do my little spiel just to pass it along. But 400 points is a lot, and there really wasn't a lot of notice ahead of time that you would really need to stockpile that many points in order to be effective in your elite spec. People were expecting to have the elite spec to play through the new content, not to play the expansion to unlock their new elite spec. And I think we also grossly underestimated how hard the challenges in the new maps can be, especially if you're a solo player. I know if you're going around with a group, it's not that bad. But if you're playing by yourself and you have to ping the map and be like, hey, I need some help over here, will you, please? It can be quite the chore. My biggest problem with this is that now people are complaining that they've made it too easy, and it's just like, you can't have it both ways, guys.
But I think it's different people doing the complaining.
I believe that's probably right. There's probably very little overlap between the two groups. But there's gonna be some.
I expected to have to unlock the elite and not have them instantly, so I'm certainly not going to complain with getting Chronomancer right off the bat. My Mesmer is the only one that has had enough hero points to fully unlock the elite. Even my Warrior, which is my second highest, with the second highest number of points, it still has a way to go to unlock things. So, I saw 400. Oh, that'll take a little while. And then I just went about my day. And then I had no idea that there was a brouhaha. So, meh.
Yeah, I'd seen 400 and I was like, wow, that's going to take a while. And then we had the show with Relics, and Grybach was like, well, that's all of the challenges in the Heart of Thorns. And there you go. You've got your enough points. And you're kind of like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's a lot less scary.
Mm-hmm.
But I do understand the people that had wanted to play with their elite spec and be effective as soon as they got into the game, because they had world completion and had, at least 250 points lying around, which after the update, my ranger got all the way through druid and my elementalist is almost all the way through tempest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reasonable change. I think most people are okay with it.
Moving on, mastery system, which, the big thing, Revenant, elite specialization, mastery system, and new maps. Those are really like the big deal for expansion as a whole. So the mastery system, to unlock a mastery ability, you must first train the mastery by filling the experience bar. You can then spend mastery points to unlock the ability for your account. And I will say, from the change from the initial beta to live, I think it's been a good progression for usability.
I kind of stalled out. It's not terrible, and it does actually pass pretty far as long as you can manage to get in on some events and actually do events. Like if you're stuck and it just seems like nothing's really happening on the map, which it does occasionally happen that way.
Well, but there was kind of a reason for that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well, but
in the first beta, it was kind of confusing to understand how you activate the mastery line to then apply a point. Like the changes they made to the UI interface has been
much better.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm not 100% certain if I'm understanding it better because I was in the betas and experienced it, or if it's just inherently more intuitive. Do you know what I mean?
That's a fine line, and it's hard for them to call it intuitive either because they've gone through so many iterations that, they've been playing this expansion for 6 months or a year or longer, so it's hard for them to gauge it as well.
It's hard to unlearn what you know to see it from another perspective. Experience earned in a region will be applied to training masteries from that region. If experience is rewarded through a reward chest, that experience will be applied to the region it was earned in, not the region it was opened in. That is a very fine point to point out, because it never even occurred to me. I guess you could collect chests from Corteria and open them in Maguma, or vice versa.
Right. No, this is just a really great way for them to make sure that people don't try and game the system.
Well, through chests.
Through chests. I mean,
there are
it's very specific.
There are people gaming the system in Corteria.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Some achievements in Corteria have had mastery points added to them, so you've been rewarded retroactively if you've had them completed.
Hooray.
There's also a mastery rank on your nameplate now, which I don't get. I don't get why anybody else needs to see your mastery rank.
Well,
okay, if you're going in for a raid, that makes a little bit of sense.
Aside from that, the mastery rank replaces your level, right? Because it said 80 or 1 to 80 is what you had there before. The only way you can have mastery points is you are actually at 80. So this is, you remember when we said early on that the mastery levels are just, it's like you're actually level 90 because they're just kind of we'll just break this off and offset it slightly from the main levels.
Well, yeah, and I haven't checked this, but I assume if you don't have Heart of Thorns, it still says 80.
Oh, I bet it does.
So
that's true. So that shows whether you have the expansion or not. That's something to consider. So, and also it's kind of the point of nameplates is to show that sort of information.
Yeah, with the titles and everything else, they're all kind of braggy, I guess.
Yeah, like you have the star when you have map completion and... So, I mean, meh. We now have the legendary weapon crafting. This was your note. You said the reason it's been put under the mastery system is that these collections are locked behind a mastery system.
Yeah.
So you actually have to train.
Yes, you have to train through a precursor crafting mastery line in order to be able to unlock it. I don't have a problem with this at all. I think it's probably a good thing for them to gate it behind a lot of experience because based on the previous way that you made legendary weapons, it took a lot of time.
This is totally, I'm just devil's advocating here. It's not it's not my actual personal opinion. But they did say the whole point is that you can get in and have fun and they don't want to put up gates before you can do stuff. But this is a gate before you can do stuff.
It is.
But I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, yes, you could farm it up like crazy, but it's
semantics, though.
Yeah.
My potential issue, because it's not really my issue, but I could totally see why someone might have an issue with the semantics of gating versus not gating.
I still see it as a reasonable gate.
Oh, yeah. I totally do, too. It doesn't bother me. I saw that and I'm like, oh, well, I guess it'll be a little bit before I start making my Nevermore.
Yeah, it's going to be a while anyways.
Because I am doing Pack Commander first.
Me too.
Although...
that auto loot.
It's going to take a while to get there, though.
Yes, but I am a patient woman.
Here's why it's going to take a while. Because the new shiny area is there, and I'm not spending as much time in Corteria.
Yeah. Precursor weapons that were released with the launch of Guild Wars 2 in 2002 can still be obtained through...
2002?
2012, sorry. Can still be obtained through random loot drops, the Mystic Forge, or by purchasing them from other players on the trading post. Acquiring a precursor weapon in any of these ways will unlock all 3 tiers of that precursor's skin in your wardrobe. And I kind of got screwed out of this. I had thought that I had, because I made the legendary, and I thought that I had account bound the precursor, but apparently I didn't.
Oh, noes.
Yeah, so...
So for the minstrel, you get the bard, which used to be like a little flute thing, which was really unimpressive. And now it basically looks like chicken harp.
Right.
But it's silvery and not quite as refined. And it's very pretty still.
Do you still get the flute thing as like the tier 1 version?
I had that skin unlocked already, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. Because the fluty one was also a skin on its own in its own right.
Ah, okay.
Separate from the precursor. It was kind of like the legend, and there's a staff that looks identical to the legend.
Emeraldine.
Yes, Emeraldine. So it's kind of like that. And then for the minstrel, there was here's the failed version, and it's like really crappy looking, which is hilarious. So I might actually put that on like an Azura. It's like, I tried to cut some corners and look what happened, but I got to use it.
It's kind of like the improvised weapons they've got right now.
Yeah.
What the new Black Lion.
Yes, which we don't have in the show notes, but...
Well, we could talk about it right quick here. They have a new set for 1 ticket right now, and it's like...
They're delightful.
Here's a bedpost, and attached at the end is a whole bunch of saw blades, and that's your great sword. The hammer is like a long branch with an anvil chained onto it, and you're just like, what?
The shield is like the seat of a chair.
Yes.
And some of the legs are still attached, pointing out. And the sword is a window pane with some of the jagged glass broken around the edge.
That one was just kind of like, oh god, it looks really painful.
Doesn't it? And the torch is like a whisk with some rags stuffed into it and lit on fire.
The torch is actually my favorite.
Actually, I think my favorite is the scepter because it is horrifying.
Oh yeah, the rag doll.
Oh, the rag doll is basically strapped to a twig. Or a twig or
some kind of wrought iron thing.
Oh yeah, wrought iron. It's like that is horror inducing.
It'd be perfect for a necro, to be honest.
See, I love these skins, but I don't want to spend a ticket on them. But I love them, but ticket.
If it had come for like 5 scraps, that would have been awesome. But they don't do that, so.
That's a great idea, though, Celeste.
If it had been 5 scraps, I totally would have gotten it. But I don't think I'm going to pay a whole ticket for it.
Yeah. As much as I am gushing over how awesome they are, I feel like we're sending mixed signals here.
Yeah. They're really cute, but I'm not going to buy them.
Moving on to Ascended Salvaging. So, dark energy and stabilizing matrices are new materials needed for crafting legendary gear. These materials are obtained by salvaging Ascended gear. Now, you might ask, why would you want to salvage Ascended gear? And the reason is fractal rings.
Mm-hmm.
Almost exclusively.
Well, not for me, but for so many other people, they have tons and tons and tons.
Yeah, I have about half a pane worth. Half a bank pane.
I have 2.
I have 3 Solarias. I got remember I got 3 in a day and a half. I'm like, what? All these Solarias. Ascended gear can only be salvaged using an Ascended salvage tool. Ascended salvage tools can only be used to salvage Ascended gear. This all makes very good sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Ascended salvage tools can be purchased from the Mistlock Observatory, which is once you enter the Fractal of the Mists, for gold and fractal relics, or from laurel vendors for gold and laurels. And the Ascended salvage kits are actually fairly expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gold plus either 2 fractal relics or a gold plus 1 laurel per use.
Yeah.
So for those people that have a pane and a half of guild bank, I don't know how many spots are in a guild bank. I can't remember. 40?
Yeah, just about. So
It's
let's say you have 50 rings.
Yeah, that's 50 gold plus...
Just to salvage them.
Plus the laurels and or fractals. Well, not and or.
Yeah, it just seems like it's a lot to jump into if you don't have a lot of extra currency.
Yeah.
It seems really expensive for that.
But I guess their thought is probably if you have this many rings, you've been running fractals a lot, you have
a lot of relics.
They're making the money sink. It's a money sink for the people who have collected a lot of these in their bags because they've run so many fractals. But yeah, I saw the price and went, and went back away slowly. I'll just find some use for these somewhere. I'll make them into a necklace.
Look, I have 10 ascended rings, and it is my amulet.
I wish you could do that.
Could throw 4 of them into the forge and get an amulet out. Like if you had 4 of the same one.
You should be sick more often. That is a wonderful idea.
You're wishing ill health on me.
Well, because you are full of awesome ideas when you're apparently stupid.
It's just my voice that's gone. I'm not really sick.
Okay. Map rewards. You will get map rewards for doing events, jumping puzzles, mini dungeons, and other content throughout Tyria. Except for starter zones.
Which makes sense.
Which totally makes sense. The rewards are deposited directly into your inventory, and they also updated Dry Top and the silver weights as well. Instead of getting the bouncy chests after every event. I don't care for the direct deposit. I don't think it's a good idea. I think the bouncy chests ensure you've received the rewards, whereas direct deposit is too easy to overlook and or miss. In fact, I'm thinking, was it yesterday or the day before I saw Hunter tweet out, I don't think I'm getting the rewards for doing map events.
Right. It's hard to tell if you've gotten a map reward.
The bouncy chest was an indicator that you got a reward.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have it. Plus, who doesn't love those damn things bouncing there in that corner telling you got some sort of treasure?
It's nice, but it can also get kind of annoying.
No.
Like in Silver Waste, every single event you get a bouncy chest. And that's kind of irritating.
No!
The other thing that's nice about the bouncy chest is you can leave them bouncing in the corner until you're back at the vendor to empty out your inventory, so it makes sure that you're not going to get overly full and miss out on rewards.
If you have that sort of
inventory issues.
Well, I was going to say
patience.
Yeah,
that's
it's like, how do I say this for me?
Yeah, I tend to open them pretty quickly, but if I know that I have like 2 slots in my bag, I'm gonna leave them.
Also, I find it super satisfying. Like if you have a bunch of them there and you open one and a new one just takes its place, and you open that and a new one takes its place, you're like, look at me go, look at all the stuff I'm getting. It's important to me.
I see that.
Apparently I have feelings about this.
No one can resist a good bouncy chest.
Yeah, so I haven't experienced this, obviously, so
I haven't been very much in the other areas, to be honest.
Yeah, hashtags like me, she can't resist clicking on the bouncy chests either. I cannot. It's like they're bouncing. Look at them. Like in guild chat or points of interest when someone's got a screen up and Ruby's like, you got bouncy chests there.
Well, because she knows chat's going crazy about the bouncy chests.
Just like, click on them.
Open it.
Open it.
Open it now.
Guild halls. There was a complete guild panel overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I like the new system. It seems to have a lot more functionality. I honestly did not do an awful lot within the guild panel prior.
Yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, like messing around with ranks and putting people on the right one and stuff like that. That's pretty much all that you really did with it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you were heavy into merits in the whole guild system.
Which we were not.
Yeah.
So it does seem like there's a lot more functionality. I love... We haven't actually... I don't think we mentioned it here specifically, but I love the multi-guild chat.
Mm-hmm.
It can get a little overwhelming, especially earlier on in the expansion launch, because there were so many people
talking. Yeah,
everyone. I actually had to go in and kind of shut down the other guilds. Just like, I'll turn you guys back on after this because
I really only have 2 guilds that are active, So it was just a matter of trying to juggle the two and stay in the right conversation.
But I did notice just yesterday, it was super nice. I had said something in Mock's guild chat, and Spirit happened to be on representing relics, but she popped in and replied on the Mock guild chat.
Yeah.
So it was so lovely.
It's really nice to know that you're kind of being monitored, for lack of a better term.
And actually, this is kind of part of this, and we didn't really have a note here, but I wanted to point out that you can see your guild members on maps.
I know. I love it so much.
So officially, you can see them on maps. They're yellow if you're not in a party with them. Once you're in a party with them, they turn blue. So you can see which of the dots are in your party and which are just guildies who are surrounding you with love.
Yes, except you're not always on the same mega server. That's the thing.
So you may look like you're beside a guild member on the mini map,
but you're not.
So you just have to.
And sometimes it takes a while for it to update too, because I've seen dots like jump halfway across the map without waypoints.
That's probably load.
No, I know.
From the amount of people on. But yeah, it's so nice. Do you remember when we were talking, was it the Extra Life Marathon? And we had Mike Sotorojna on, and we got to ask a few questions, and we asked, like, when are we going to be able to see guild members on the map? Hooray!
Great success!
Yes, so yay, love that.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Guild missions are on now a weekly rotation and are instanced, although not all of them are.
Yeah, it's the puzzle and challenge missions I meant to clarify.
Yeah. They're instanced because everyone gets the same puzzle and challenge mission. And I will point out although I did mention the slight confusion with the guild trek with Maven, we had the crab challenge. I am not 100% sure which thing is which, to be perfectly honest. But it was the one in South Sun where you have to run around. One person runs around with the crab and they can't die or drop the crab.
Oh, okay.
And it was significantly easier because it was in an instance and it wasn't being artificially ramped up in difficulty, scaled up. That's the word I'm looking for.
Oh, so it was nice that you didn't have to taxi people in and you knew exactly who was going to be there.
Well, in an open map, there can be other players. So if where this takes place is also right beside the beginning of a guild rush.
Right.
So if another guild was hanging out at the guild rush to start that while we started this, or vice versa, the crab toss scales up because it recognizes there's a bunch of players nearby.
Gotcha.
So this is where the instance is super nice. I mean, it was still challenging, don't get me wrong, but it was way less difficult than it has been other times, because we seem to get that a lot, that particular mission. With the upgrade to guild halls, there is the guild hall expeditions, which we've already talked about. I hope everyone gets to at least experience them. If your guild is not large enough to do it, it should be. Like, they've said that you could do it with 5 people. I'm not sure how, honestly, but presumably they scale down enough. You probably only get one.
I would think that if you only have 5 people, it would only be one event per wave.
As opposed to 2. But I hope everyone gets to try it, because it was a lot of fun.
I'm definitely going to have to do it on my bank guild just for funsies sometime.
Oh, I'll join you.
Okay.
Yay! So Romo's saying that they did it with 4 friends.
It's 1 per wave. Okay.
So there you go. We have an answer. Once you have your guild hall and you've gone through and made some upgrades, after your workshop is open, you will unlock the scribe crafting profession, and you will be able to start on that to create decor, boosts, and other guild items.
Yes, and there's also some personal items like the backpacks that you get to make as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. Romo's saying that the one with 5 people was easier than the one with 80 plus people.
Oh, wow, that's quite a statement.
That probably comes down to ease of coordination.
Oh, that too, yeah. Definitely easier. So they also added guild teams, which you talked a little bit about with the PvP play. And then as long as 3 members of the team are playing, you'll have a choice to represent the team, which I guess then you have to play as ranked?
No, you don't.
Oh, okay.
You don't. In fact, when we unlocked the guild expedition doing the PvP guild missions, we did it unranked.
Uh-huh.
And one thing I thought was interesting is it will, when you bring up the party panel, which is B, I think, in PvP, it will actually put little lines to the people who are in a party together. So you could see these 3 people on our team. It was 3 of us, and then two random people were also with us. But we were against a team of full 5 guild members.
Ooh.
Or not guild members, but full...
Organized team, yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting that I hadn't expected to see that. And it actually might help, if you're in and you're like, oh, I'm in a team with 4 other people. I know I'm the odd man out. Maybe I need to coordinate a bit better with them. So.
That's good.
Yes. Oh, and Romo's definitely saying the best thing about guild missions is they don't cost anything to start now. So any guild member can start them at any time.
Yeah.
I think they still need to be given permissions for that, Romo, by the leaders.
Yeah, I think there's still permissions.
But they don't cost anything. Actually, that reminds me, I should probably check that Mock has given permissions to start them.
For Stronghold, the access to the new game mode does not require access to Heart of Thorns expansion content. But if you want to progress on the new reward tracks to unlock the new Mist champions, other than Grim, who can be unlocked for everyone, and Tarai Asa, who's the default for everyone, you would need to have Heart of Thorns.
Okay.
It sounds a bit like the hero unlocking with MOBAs, or it reminds me of that at least.
Not necessarily about the heroes, but with Stronghold, we actually had a bit of an issue with the PvP guild missions because you need to be rank 10 to be able to uncheck Stronghold.
Right.
But for the guild missions that week, you needed Conquest.
Oh.
So we had to not include guildies because they're of their lower rank when they were, keen to do it.
Oh.
So it was like, meh.
That's not fun.
Because I guess, I'm not 100% certain, but I could easily be totally wrong on this, but if one person on your team has Stronghold checked, you will always get pulled into Stronghold? I was a little confused which one it was, but it was like, oh, well, this sucks, because we had 4 people ready to go in, and I mean, it's not, rank 10 isn't a huge deal. You can get to it.
Yeah, it's just a little...
Hashtag's getting to level 7. Woo!
I think it's harder to rank up in Stronghold, but that's just a personal opinion, not necessarily based on a whole lot of observation.
We were just going to do the one match, but we got Stronghold, and it didn't go super awesome. It depends on who queues it. Interesting, Irish Dog.
Okay.
Because I don't think hashtag queued it up, but we got Stronghold. But maybe. The PvP expansion reward tracks are now in place? ?
They should be there, yes.
Should be. The final reward on the final jungle rank reward track is the Mordrim Dragon finisher, which is an entirely new finisher made for Heart of Thorns. New jungle map reward tracks, which reward the corresponding jungle's map currency, as well as new armor and weapon skins, and holy crap, I need to queue that up.
Yeah.
I did read these, and did read other stuff, and for some reason this is the first time this is kicking in for me. Now on to something I did absolutely nothing with. So, World vs. World Desert Borderlands. Actually, I haven't been into World vs. World once since the expansion launch because there's so much to do.
Yeah, I really have not been in at all. Not one bit.
Access to the new Borderlands does not require access to Heart of Thorns expansion content. They had said this prior, but it's always good to reiterate it. Guild objective claiming is also added to give your guild more presence in World vs. World. There's a new siege weapon, the Shield Generator, which you must have hot to be able to use and or operate. And you also get a new ability line to be able to master them. Ability lines were reset.
Yes, so you don't run in there and jump right into the fray. You need to set up your abilities. I was about to say masteries. Same difference.
Yeah. They've reduced event karma, gold experience, and world experience by 25% in Edge of the Mists. I understand why. It was just a big train.
Yeah, that's all it had turned into, so this is a much better place for it to be at. Although it could just be that the population drops off significantly because of this.
Although at the same time, 25% it's not like half like with dungeons.
Good point.
So, there's that. Placing siege equipment now shows a preview in-world where it will go and allows rotating the direction in which the siege will be deployed. That is fantastic.
That's a wonderful thing. I think that probably was added with the decor stuff. Because you know how you can place it and then swoosh it around so you can set it up to be rotated correctly.
Is that the technical term?
Yes.
Swoosh.
Swoosh.
We're on to our miscellaneous changes. So player-owned minions will now take 95% reduced damage and condition duration from non-player attacks that do not specifically target them. When the attack specifically targets the minion, it will then deal full damage and condition duration, which we had talked about last week.
Yes, but I wanted to revise my statement from a ranger point of view. I had no bloody clue how much tanking my pets were doing. They die so freaking often, and I apparently had no cognizant awareness of this.
How is that possible, though? Because wouldn't you need to...
I would just let them be dead for a while, but I'm noticing it more when they die, because I've turned the sounds back on. So I can hear my Norn.
They're horrible screams.
Oh, you poor thing. That's heard every few minutes while in combat. My pets love to tank.
Possibly one of the most delightful updates is the jump pads in Lion's Arch near the bank, so you can hop quickly from the bank to the trading post conch.
Yes.
It is so delightful, but there needs one back.
You just jump on the same one.
There isn't
it's not
one
super close.
No, there isn't one at the trading post.
Okay, so you want there to be another one that triggers you onto the others.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little lazy, pair. Come on.
This isn't about laziness. It's about delightfulness. Jump pads are fun.
Okay.
And also laziness.
A little bit.
In Mount Maelstrom, due to the weight of players, boxes surrounding the Golem Mark II have collapsed. Workers have carted the remnants away. Which I did not understand what this meant.
For the Golem Mark II world boss, what happens is that... what used to happen is that everyone would stand on the boxes because it got you out of the Golem's lightning floor AoE. So you could stand on top of the box and just keep trucking and not have to worry about the AoE on the ground.
Right. I remember people... I never did that, but I remember people doing that. I always still got hit by it if I stood up there, so I just didn't...
See, I always just made sure that I was right on top of the box. I'd turn my character limit way down low so I could make sure that my feet were both on the box. So now that's gone, which I just like the way that they described it. The boxes have collapsed.
Yeah, in a delightful manner. Yes. Delightful.
Action camera is available.
Have you turned it on?
I have not. I'm worried about it messing with me.
I think I want to just give it a little bit, get used to content, do some other stuff, and when I'm not kind of in a, I have stuff to do.
Yeah.
Maybe on a day when there's not too many people on, turn it on and go to Queensdale or...
It's somewhere simple, yeah. That's kind of what you're going to have to do, I think, just to get used to it.
And play with it, see how it goes. So, I do know that, I think it's Veggie in my guild loves it.
Mm-hmm. There's a few people that are super excited and happy about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know a lot of people that are.
As in, I haven't heard anyone saying it's bad, though.
No, I haven't heard anyone say that it's bad, but I've also been staying away from Reddit as much as possible. So.
Me too. Kind of in the same vein as the action camera, a new ground targeting option is available. I say in the same vein because it was introduced on the same guild chat by the same dude, who was awesome, by the way. We never talked about that. I loved every second with him on screen.
Yes, he was an amazing dev. I was kind of disappointed that they didn't have him on for the release night.
When they talked about the chat room was offering their firstborn children, he went, "The pact has been sealed."
Exactly.
I lost it. I thought it was oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
You'll make me laugh, sir.
Yes.
He also introduced or mentioned the new ground targeting option, which is snap ground target to current target, and it's been added under the combat/movement category. This will place the ground target marker at your current target's position, and I had forgot to turn that on, and I think it was Hashtag was talking about how she had it on and how much she loved it. I'm like, oh, I haven't done that yet. Oh my god, I love it so much. It is so awesome, although it kind of negates the point of ground targeting.
Yeah, I haven't turned it on. I have turned on allow skill retargeting, which is another targeting option. And I talked about it a little bit. Like, let's say you're in the middle of a volley and the target that you're pointing at dies, it will switch to the next target nearby, which has kind of backfired for me when you're looking at those big groups of mobs in Verdant or during the guild claiming, and you're like, no, don't switch to that one. I don't want to aggro him.
Or don't switch to that jungle boar.
Yeah.
Please switch to this Mordrum.
Yeah. Many boars.
So many boars. This podcast is dedicated to the memory of
so many boars.
Of the Verdant Brink jungle boars who have innocently died.
And been annihilated accidentally.
So yeah, it's really nice. One of the things I notice is the a-hole enemies that teleport all around.
Smoke scale.
No, the shadow dancers, or there's a Mordrum that does it too.
Yeah.
So there's a...
It's the Revenant ones.
So it will, when they jump, it jumps to where they are. So I'm like, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to get hit by this.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Yes. The only thing for me as a Mesmer where it becomes a problem is Veil, which is number 4 on the focus, which is if you've traded for it to reflect, it's right on top of them and not in front of them where it needs to be. And they made that boost to number 4 where it goes higher than it used to. Because it used to be if you were slightly on a decline from the enemy, they would just shoot right over top the veil and it didn't do any reflex. Yeah. They've made it more like the height-wise of the Guardian reflect wall, from what I understand. But now it's right on top of them and they just like, my arms are in front of this. It doesn't matter. I can hit you.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
But if it's just for that one skill, really, then it's kind of okay.
Yeah, but I trait for Warden's feedback, don't you know?
I knows it.
Actually, you know what would be interesting? And bear with me. If there was some way that you could override that with a key command on an as-needed basis.
If you could toggle that like you can with the action camera.
Maybe you can. Maybe you can, and I just haven't done it. Like say, you know what? I'm going to make J where I can move that around manually. You know what? There probably is.
I'm not sure that there's a toggle for that specifically. But it would be very handy.
Yeah. Event participation can now time out due to inactivity. If you stop completing objectives in an event, you will eventually receive a message that you are no longer participating in that event, and you will not receive rewards when the event completes. If you begin participating again before the event ends, you will regain your previous participation level immediately. This is so good.
I have not had this happen to me yet, but rest in peace walking away from an event and just hoping someone else will finish it.
Or tagging.
Yeah. But I'd also, for the few moments that I was on Reddit, saw somebody complain about this because they died in the middle of the event and tried to get a res and had to waypoint and walk back and ended up not getting rewards because they had to walk back to the area and the event had finished while they were walking.
That is a valid complaint.
Maybe that's been patched out already. It could have been an older thread, but that is something to be aware of. They also added one of the best things ever, which is consume all for luck.
I want more consume all options. Although, I had a good laugh that the destroy was right above the consume all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this?
It's like G-Kick.
But actually, no, it's not too bad. Because if you accidentally hit the destroy, you get a pop-up that says, are you sure? So Although, if you're super click happy, you might still end up hitting. And
Yeah.
I'm not pointing at myself over that, but I'm totally pointing at myself over that.
Yeah, as somebody who knew if I did return to checkpoint while doing the guild mission, knew it was going to throw me all the way to the back to the beginning, I still did it out of habit instead of letting somebody res me.
Yeah.
So it's just, I get into the habit of clicking. So that's definitely a possibility for me as well. They fixed an issue that was preventing voiceover from sometimes playing during cinematics and restored over 50 voiceover files that had issues during processing. I am so excited to go back and play the old story now because so much of it was non-voiced for me.
I never had that problem. However, I will say that during one of the initial cinematics, when hopefully, I know we said we were going to talk story, but this is the very first one.
Yeah.
When Ritlock appears, everyone knows Ritlock's in this, so it's not spoiling. I know he said something because there was a reaction to something, and there was also the subtitles, but there was no voice coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So I had that with this release.
Yeah, I had that too. I know he was supposed to have said something, but it didn't play. Also, the dungeon reward reduction has been implemented. Experience and gold rewards are reduced, and tokens are at the same levels that they've always been.
Mm-hmm. However, there are people that are using Citadel of Flame Path 1.
Is it Path 1?
I can't remember which path, but to farm mastery points and get Corteria mastery super quick.
I've heard that that's the farm for it.
Mm-hmm. Not cool.
No, it's really not. One island is now a fractal. We've moved on to fractals. Yeah, which is pretty awesome. The maximum level of fractals has been doubled up to 100. Mm-hmm. Rewards for completing fractals have been reworked. A new fractal encryption box has been added to each island's reward chest. And we ran a level 12 fractal, which I realize is very, very low. But the keys still cost the same amount. Mm-hmm. And the rewards from this chest was abominable. 2 blues and no green.
We were all like, what?
Yeah, it's like, why did I bother to get keys?
Although you actually didn't need to, because you were rewarded. And so I guess maybe that's a bit of a PSA for people. It's probably good to buy some to have as a buffer.
Mm-hmm. But you'll get one, at least daily.
Yeah, I did not actually use any of the ones I bought because I received enough as a reward for doing the fractal.
Yeah.
So perhaps more the buying them, and this is me guessing, I'm obviously not high enough, is that you get less, I don't know what I was going to say. The daily fractal achievements are completely separate from regular daily achievements now.
Yeah, and they're off in a different category on the achievement panel, so look out for them specifically if you do want to do daily fractals.
Yeah. Oh, brief segue, did you notice that for daily achievements, the Halloween ones are rolled in? You know how previously with special events, they were completely separated? And now, so I'm like, oh, well, I got 2 of them and I need 1 more, but I don't really have time to do these other things. Well, I can eat 50 candy corn in 5 seconds.
In 5 seconds. Consume all. No,
actually, it doesn't work for candy corn.
I know.
I will say that earlier today I vomited all over the guild hall. It's like 50 candy corn in the guild hall. Blah.
That's pretty great, actually. We should get everybody together, have us all eat candy corn and vomit.
In the bar, in the tavern.
And vomit everywhere. That would be pretty funny.
I need this to happen. The Azura have to be on the bar.
Yes. They also fixed a bunch of bugs and issues that were popping up in various fractal maps / islands.
I don't remember what they might have been.
There was a bunch of them. It was like for almost every single map, there was at least one change. So.
It was actually, I noticed a difference.
It seemed like it was a little easier.
I actually thought it seemed like it was a little harder.
Huh. Okay.
Well, there you go. We are having completely different reactions to this.
Yeah. I thought it was actually a little bit easier. Although Cliffside Fractal is one of the ones that I am worse at. So maybe it's just I was able to pick it up a lot easier this time.
There's a scavenger hunt achievement in Auric Basin that will give you a second Bloodstone Dust Eater. It has a different name. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. And you can use it and Maudry every day. So if you are swimming in Bloodstone Dust, you can tag team it.
Yeah, you can use both of them each day. Lots of easier ways.
Hashtag siding with you. She thought easier and she's a fractal wimp. Maybe we're just having a time.
To sync armor crafting with weapon crafting and to help maintain the value of leather, masterwork, rare, and exotic inscriptions will now be crafted with patches made from leather and cloth. To account for the added leather cost, the amount of cloth required to make an insignia is reduced.
Woo! I'm doing a happy dance.
So this kind of jumps back to the economy long conversation that we had last episode, and with the way that they manipulated silk until it's just become a beast of a product. And it kind of looks like that's what they're hoping to do with leather as well.
Well, and it just spreads it around a little bit. It doesn't put the lion's share of the onus on cloth. Hooray for that.
So they changed up some of the refining, numbers. So that's happened. There's a ton of new materials with flax, cassava root, guma lilies, mussel, and a whole bunch of other stones that have been added to the game. And now with the most recent patch, it has also added them to the material pane as well, so you can look out for that.
High five, Celeste.
Yeah.
High five, everyone. Psh. Here's my only thing. Why weren't they in the first place?
I don't know. It kind of just feels like if you're going to add stuff that can be harvested
and crafted, needed for crafting.
Yeah, it should be in there. Lots of new weapon and armor skins can be found in the jungle or crafted with jungle gain components, which we already kind of figured out with all the new skins and stuff.
Yes, and my inner Scrit was going berserk all over all the new shinies.
Yeah, it's been a long time that I've been through an area and used the copper salvage and been like, that's a new skin. That's a new skin. That's a new skin too.
What is this? Where did this come from? This is awesome. Actually, I was on just before the show to do my dailies really quick, and Froon in my guild had linked the Reaper Shroud. And so I was previewing it. I went, I wonder if I could preview this with my Chronomancer epaulets. And I can. So I'm like, I want to combine all the light professions together.
See what it looks like.
Uber armor. Also, a hashtag is saying that she would like going back to the materials and going into your bank. There's enough keys in the game. She would like key rings.
Feels like it would fit for the wallet, yeah.
Yeah, just like here's a tab for keys and all your keys just hang in it. Which I think is, again, a delightful idea. I wonder if she has a sore throat, because apparently sore throats give people good ideas.
Well, I think people have been asking for a keyring for a really long time.
Oh,
I mean,
I hadn't heard
people
that.
were asking for it back in Guild Wars 1 even.
Oh, it's new to me.
So many keys until they came out with the hard mode keys, which just made everything easier.
That's true. Lots of pretties and shinies and things to play with, and it's dangerous, and I love it all. Some minor tweaks have been made to salvage tables to normalize output across all levels, and a small reduction has been made on Tier 5 metal, leather, and wood, as well as a reduction on Tier 6 leather and cloth. Why cloth?
I don't know. It seems like a bad thing.
Why cloth? Everything else I understand, but cloth?
Yeah. Adventure iterations. Bugs in the Branches, Flying Circus, Shooting Gallery, and Beetle Feast adventures are now available more frequently.
And I think this was made in the post that Colin had put up. That
I've noticed that it seems like, yes, I go through and I do all the events and then it unlocks, and that's great. But sometimes I don't want to have to do all of the events just to be able to do it.
Yep.
So
the final point from the post from Colin was, if you've noticed that maps have been sparsely populated, it turns out there was a bug causing that, and the maps should be nice and full now.
Yes, which is lovely.
I don't think I've really been in since that took effect because we were doing...
Yeah, that was last night.
That was last night when we were doing the expedition, and then, I'm not likely to go back out, and we were doing Guild Holly stuff before that, so...
Yeah, it was... Like, I went down into Auric Basin for the first time, and I think there might have been 3 or 4 people on the whole map, and I was like, this is weird. Like, I got the volunteer pop up, and I was like, I just got here.
But I think a lot of people are really concentrating on Verdant Brink right now. Like,
yeah.
I think people are trying to be not tactical. That's not quite the right word.
They're pragmatic with
thorough.
trying to parse it out as well.
Yeah.
Which is good. That's important. Because you have to realize that, yes, there's been a flood, but there will soon be a drought if you rush too quickly.
I will say, though, there were a ton of people in Silver Waste when I was there the one day.
Oh.
Which I was a little surprised by.
Well, everybody's going after the sand.
Right. That is why I was there.
You were all there for the same reason.
Pretty much.
That silky, silky sand.
Do you require my assistance?
Ask an Azura.
Excelsior.
Celeste, we got a crazy awesome response to your tweet earlier today about asking questions.
We really did. I was kind of surprised how quickly and well that paid off.
Yeah. We did actually get a tip, but there were some spoilers in it, so we're going to keep that until next Ask an Azura.
Yeah, gonna keep it under our hats just because we don't want to accidentally spoiler somebody who really wants to know or unlock all of the secrets for themselves. So from Ozark Tai Chi, also known as Garth Ghost Puncher,
which is awesome.
He asked, I have 9 level 80s, but no elites fully unlocked. Any suggestions for getting hero points solo? And I did find a couple of things for if you want to be grouped. And there's a weekly hero point rush every Wednesday night at 9:30, I assume Eastern. So that's the same time that we record. And you can find them on Reddit and the Guild Wars 2 subreddit. We have a link in the show notes as well if people want to get in on that. They haven't gone through all of Corteria yet, so there's probably plenty of time for you to jump in on this. And if you're really gung-ho on playing it solo, there's a map over at GW2 Timer that will show you all of the hero point challenges and how to get around to them and exactly where they are. So if you don't have the world explored, you can at least run straight to the point you need.
And as far as doing them solo, that's more what I thought the question was?
Oh.
Like if you weren't in a group, how can you complete them?
Oh, for the new maps, that would be an issue. You can ask on map and hopefully you get a couple of nice people. But actually, in the looking for group, and I've seen this before, is that there's a commander, or somebody had their tag up and said, I'm going on a hero point run, join in on my tag, and just kind of directed everybody on how to get to all of the hero point challenges in Verdant Brink.
Well, and that's maybe a tip, an answer to that tip or question.
Yeah.
Words is make a looking for group and say, I want to do hero point challenges in Lornar's Pass.
Yeah. And hopefully somebody will find your group and be like, hey, I need to do them too. Let's go run together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that makes it at least a little bit more exciting than doing it on your own. It can be kind of boring to run around by yourself doing them.
And I think depending on the zone, difficult.
Yeah.
Particularly with the new ones.
Yeah, with the new ones, you really do need to have at least one other person. The champs can be frustrating, to say the least.
We also got a question from Headborough Ent Farm, which is also gosh, I love Twitter names. I love internet handles. They make me so happy. Hi, question for you. How the hell do break bars work? Please explain. Smiley face.
In case you haven't noticed, there's now a bar underneath the enemy that will be kind of blue.
Some enemies, champions and legendaries?
Yes.
Yep.
And it'll be blue. And to get it to go down, you have to hit it with crowd control or control effects. Now, if you're unclear on what that means, there's a whole list of all of the control effects and what skills are associated with each of those on the wiki. But basically, it's stunning, knockback, blinding, chilling,
interrupt,
all of those. All of those are going to end up breaking down this bar.
Mm-hmm.
After this is broken down, there is a huge decrease in their ability to withstand your attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So they go down a lot faster. Now, if you're in a small group and you're in an instance or something like that, you'll need to coordinate and make sure everybody knows, okay, we're doing CCs right now to do the break bar.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just fills up far too quickly for you to be able to get it down.
And once it goes down, it switches to a brown bar that indicates that the enemy was recently broken. They are immune to crowd control and the break bar is regenerating. So it will do the opposite. So blue goes down, and so that's when you're CCing to get that down. Once it's down, it turns to a brown or tan, and it starts going back up. And that was something I discovered when I was using CCs and things weren't happening.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm wasting them now. I need to save those for when it does regenerate fully and turn blue again.
Exactly.
There is a third component to this, though. If the bar is gray and segmented, so it just looks like a iron bar, essentially. Rebar. Looks like rebar.
Yeah, basically.
It means that the enemy is immune to any crowd control. So again, I think that Jawa was saying then there's times that the break bar is locked, and I think that's what this is. So there's no point doing crowd control. Don't waste. You can attack the enemy with, straight up conditions or damage, but don't do your control.
Blue when they're open to CC, and that's when you want to spam them as much as possible with it. There's this kind of orangey brown, which means that they're recently broken, and your CCs aren't going to really work on them.
But they take a crap ton of damage, so burn.
Burn as much as you can while they're in the brown-orange. And then the gray...
Burst. Burn, burst, burn.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Gray-black rebar means it's immune to CC completely.
I will be honest, I'm not entirely sure its relation to the other two, like when it shows up versus...
I think it's just dependent upon the enemy, because there are some enemies that I've seen only with the locked bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I never saw them go for a blue or brown, or it's passed by so quickly that it's not been noticed.
I'm wondering if it's a health pool point, like once it gets below a certain health pool, then it moves to the blue.
There's a possibility of that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, though.
Yeah, we're not completely sure on it, but that's the basics of the break bar, because some people still haven't heard about it, don't know how to use it, and that's the important thing that you need to know.
I found it really illustrative and intuitive, so I loved this change.
It's a lot better than the little icon underneath the character that you were like, I don't know what that means.
And I don't understand, and you could hardly see the numbers because they're so tiny.
Exactly.
And they were white numbers on a yellowy white icon.
Yeah, it was pretty much impossible for you to tell when it was going to go away. It was just like, oh, it's gone now. Burn.
Yeah. I'm not observant enough to notice that. Whereas this honkin' bar below the thing where you can, when you hit it with a knockback or what have you, and you see it like drop, you're like, I did stuff.
Yeah, and something that Jaw was bringing up is that the great thing is that it makes you want to change your build so you have more CC, at least on one of your weapon sets, which is totally true.
It makes you feel useful.
Yes.
You're not seeing big numbers as far as damage, but you are seeing what you're doing have an effect, a tangible effect on the enemy.
Yes, and that's something that's very important, especially to the classes that don't burn as heavily.
Mm-hmm. Just to clarify, when we say burn, we mean deal a ton of damage as quickly as possible, not the condition of burning.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of burning, hashtag mentioned that she will be coming into some gems to burn from an AP chest. She asks, should I put them towards a bank tab or storage expander? Which first? Neither of them really go on sale that often. It's more of a preference. If you run into the full materials tab issue more often, I would say to jump on that. Or if transferring between tunes is more of an issue, or the unwillingness to create a mule, then a bank tab may be more of your style. It's just a matter of which you really like better. I have one storage expander. I think I got it on sale. And it's helped a lot of the deposit collectible. Why aren't you going in? Please go in. Come on, go in there. And it doesn't. So.
Both. There's my both.
I have a few other bank tabs now too. But I would say if I were you, I'd probably go for the storage expander first. Just because there's so many more materials and they just added a whole bunch to that. So it's going to be a lot easier to deposit all for a while.
I think I did 2 sets of the deposit. So, if I get to the point where I can't deposit anymore, that means I have 750 of something in. And usually I'll just drag over. When you do that, you only drag 250 into your bags. And usually I'll drag that 250 over and sell it. And I'm still left with 500.
Exactly.
And I find that comforting.
Yeah, like if you've got a ton of those frostbitten tools, then you have a ton of snowflakes. And you're just like, I got snowflakes coming out of my ears.
Those things should melt.
They should melt.
But they don't.
But they don't. So I sell them on the trading post when I need to actually make room.
Backtracking back to the break bar very, very quickly, Irish Dog in chat has said for certain enemies, the bar is always active, as in the vine tenders. Most other enemies have the gray bars until they do a wind-up attack, and then they turn blue, such as the Mordrim Punishers. Thank you. That is awesome.
Yes.
Tales of Tyria.
There was a community showcase.
Today.
And it's Halloween based. I actually did not see the Twitch one because it happens when I'm at work, so I haven't watched this yet.
It was cute.
Did they go over the ones that they had on the post, or were they completely separate and new?
Just maybe 1 or 2 of the post pieces are on Twitch, but the majority of these are new. So it's worth checking out both.
Okay, cool. And there's no spoilers or anything in anything?
No, it's not spoilery at all.
I will say, though, completely an aside to, I'm not watching as many YouTube videos right now because I don't want to get spoiled.
Yeah.
So I'm like in this, is dearth
yes
too much or not enough? I'm not sure. There's all this content that's being put out and I don't feel like I can watch it because I don't want spoilers.
No, that's exactly the experience I've been having as well. Just been like, I can't see.
If it's skins, I'll watch it, or if it's builds, I might watch it, but anytime like, oh, we're exploring here or doing story, I'm like, I can't watch it.
I can't watch this at all.
Actually, you know what? We have not actually, you know what? We haven't. So what are your impressions of the expansion, Celeste? As final thoughts.
I was really, 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 really excited for everything in the expansion. I think going through the beta and having some experience of Verdant Brink beforehand has soured my overall impression.
Really?
Because I'd already seen stuff.
Well, that's not soured. That's spoiled.
Okay, it's spoiled.
Although
when
it comes to food, souring and spoiling are somewhat similar, but
I've been really wanting to see everything with a fresh light, and going down into Ark Basin has been illuminating, to say the least. I've really, really enjoyed that new area, and the music is just phenomenal. It's awesome.
I felt that the areas that we saw, okay, definitely the first story instance, although it was different enough that it felt like I was still getting something new. So that was awesome. between the canopy and the roots, there is still a lot of Verdant Brink that we never got to experience. So there's definitely,
Yes.
and they moved some things, like where there was the commune right off of where you start on that little peak jutting out of the ground there. You know, there, I'm pointing at it. You can see it.
Yeah.
When you could fly over to that, and if you had gliding and commune with it, that's not there at all. So there's enough stuff has changed, and there's still enough new areas. But I definitely will agree, Auric Basin is beautiful, and across the board, the music is fabulous. And I haven't seen the third map yet.
I haven't seen the third map at all. So there's that. I haven't seen all of Auric Basin either, so.
It is so engaging and captivating that as much as I said I wanted to do Halloween stuff, I can't bring myself to do it.
Yes, that
because
is very
this
true.
This is here and I want to do that instead. And I feel like I'm wasting time when I do it.
Even though I know that this is something that's only once a year, the allure of progressing and exploring and enjoying.
And once again, the lighting across the board is so gorgeous. And so also between the two guild halls that we have available, there's the feel within them is so different. And a lot of that has to do with the audio, with the ambient noise and the music of Lost Precipice is so massively different than, like, there's almost like a tinkling noise to the Gilded Hollow comparatively. It's just, I love it.
And Irish has brought up a very valuable point that I think is safe to share.
Okay.
That if you go into the third map, it spoils the story for you in the meta event.
Oh, so that is good to know.
If you don't want to have it spoiled, if you want to go through the story naturally, do not advance to the third map.
Yeah, because I definitely went into Auric Basin before the story directed me there.
Same.
That is a dang fine tip.
Yes. I feel like I've not experienced enough to really give anything other than a preliminary thought on it. So thank you, Alona, for doing this show with me this week and doing most of the talking.
Thank you for talking, Celeste, at all.
Thank you, chat room, for being chatty and helpful.
Yes, lots of awesome updates.
Yes, and really appreciate it, guys. It's very helpful for us to have somebody paying attention to something other than the live stream. And thank you for downloading the show. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you come back again next week. But most importantly, we hope to see you in game.
May the Six watch over you.
So if you have a community event that you would like for us to share, please send us an email.
The Legion calls.
And if you've got a burning question for our Ask an Azura segment, let us know.
Seize the moment.
And so now let's go ahead and talk about our sponsor.
More people should learn to barter.
If you are in dire need of audiobooks, or just, you enjoy books with sound, you can go to audibletrial.com/MMOreporter and you'll get a free audiobook.
I'm selling. You buying?
And if you use the coupon code MMOReporter at doghousesystems.com, you will get an additional 120 gig SSD drive for free on your next build, and or possibly a Superstar Destroyer.
No free samples.
So if you're in love with the show or the network, consider becoming a patron on our Patreon page. You should definitely check it out. Patreon.com/MMOReporter.
Let's see the color of your coin.
So, Alona, if people want to get into contact with us to share their questions, answers, or corrections, how could they do so?
They can email us at gwreporter@MMOReporter.com. Twitter is @GWReporter. Our website is guildwarsreporter.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 616-666-6778.
YouTube is MMO Reporter Network, and remember to like our videos and subscribe to the GW Reporter playlist. And while you're hanging out there, try some of the other shows. You might find something you like. Facebook is GW Reporter. Tumblr is gwreporter.tumblr.com.
You must visit more often.
And you can visit us on Twitter. I am at OneBigPear, as in the fruit.
And I am at Salyuki.
In a world where you can visit us on Twitter, I am Ultra at Ultratown.
Or at Hunter's Insight, one word.
You're kidding, right?
Or you can find us in-game, where I am Salyuki.5046.
And I'm OneBigPear.1249.
And I am Ultratown.5683.
Incredible!
And you can get me in game at Hunt, H-U-N-T, I forget my user display name or whatever.
I can't believe it.
Until next time.
Yes, that's right. So thank you for coming and watching the video, and we hope to see you in game. Oh man, I would really, because we never really got to experience it specifically, and maybe I'm just a noob and I don't remember, but I really would like to see the searing and the actual battle that happened when Ascalon walls came down and experience what that was like.
Yeah. Joe is asking, in chat is asking, what would you like turned into a fractal?
Also, the Realm of Torment would be a really cool fractal too.
Yeah, the Realm of Torment. I didn't, but I loved the Realm of Torment.
There's a lot of key moments in Tyrian history that I really would like to experience again. Or, to have a fractal where you go back when Giganticus Lupicus is actually alive and not undead.
Or I love Nightfall. I loves me my Nightfall.
Yeah.
So some of the Nightfall ones,
mm-hmm.
maybe some of the missions in Nightfall turned into a
fractal. The Vabby Garden, where you have to run the orbs. I liked that one a lot. That one is one of my favorite missions. That would be really cool as a fractal, actually. But I think they're trying to avoid specifically like Guild Wars 1 missions.
They're so human-centric. I get that. They are, yeah. Or maybe something with the dwarves from...
It would be really cool to go and be a stone dwarf and fight destroyers. Mm-hmm. That would be really fun.
Okay, that's it. Stone dwarves. Yes, that is it. Or, just... There's so many.
There's so many.
Or Dredge. I know a lot of people hate the Dredge, but I actually really like the Dredge.
It would be fun to play through a fractal where you are a Dredge.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice counterpoint to them always being an enemy.
And I never said, but back to Nightfall, maybe, there were some of the beasts you had to fight with Varish had trained or brought in. Were they nightmares? Were they called nightmares? I can't remember now.
I think so.
But yeah, there's... or the Mersat. Not Mersat. Yes, Mersat. Ooh.
There's so many ideas here. What, Jawa? You opened up the biggest can of worms.
Or roller beetles.
Roller beetle races.
The Corsair Wars in Alona. Yeah, that pre-light Nightfall. That would be interesting. Again, I see where the dilemma is that they're all human-based. Or what about with the Azura coming up from below ground, seeing perhaps where they came from, their original home.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That would be really interesting. There's not a whole lot you can do with the Sylvari being as new as they are. I mean, we kind of theoretically have been around since they've been around.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know where the story goes with Heart of Thorns, so I can't say specifically. But it would be pretty cool if you went through and you were a Sylvari waking up from one of the other trees, like Malik. Like to go through Malik's story.
Yes,
that would be really fun.
Or even some of the stories from the novels, like Destiny's Edge or Sea of Sorrows. That could be really interesting and tie it into the books as well. Like so for book sales, and maybe the reward could be another Paula. For the people
for the people that accidentally destroyed their Paula.
Yes.
Another really cool one would be the Char and having them go through accepting the Titans as their god. That would be really cool. And definitely not human-centric at all.
That would be interesting. So we haven't done Norn. Perhaps some of the some things to do with their spirits.
Yeah, the spirits that went away.
Like
or when you're fleeing from the north and how they lose the spirits, that would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're getting really off topic and we need to shift back. We could talk about this for a whole show. I'm telling you that right now.
Apparently. Ooh, or this, or ooh, or that.
Phenomenal.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.